Welcome back to another episode of the Game Time CT Staff Pick'ems podcast. I'm your host, Pete Paguaga, and as always, I am joined by Sean Patrick Bowley. We are back for week 5 of the picks. Sean, you're kind of right up there in the standings, not to give them totally away, but you got to be feeling good about yourself.
I'm all right, man. There's a lot of guys around me. We're all doing the same. Now, you're there, you're tied with me, and I'm doing okay. I'm holding my own. You know, I still see our bosses ahead of us, which that's got to change. They don't go anywhere.
Yeah. I think that might change once we start getting into the bye weeks. We're going to have, a lot less representation across the state. We'll go over that.
I will say this. I'm glad that all the guys who go see the most games are also at the top.
Yes.
4-0, yourself, myself, Stewart.
Yeah, it's been an interesting one. Obviously I was 3-7 last week, and I went 9-1 this week. Back in it, baby.
Yeah.
We had a bunch of 9-1s. We had 5 9-1s this week, a couple of 8-2s, couple of 7-3s, 1 5-5, 1 4-6. Overall standings: boss man Dan Brecklin up the top at 27-12. Myself, you, and Sean Barker 25-14. Forno Stewart 24-15, Carl Meyer 23, Morelli 23, all the way down to the bottom. The 8 ball is the only one under 500 at 19-20, though. It's right there.
What are you gonna do?
There.
We're gonna do tight race.
And it's good. It's exciting. But like I mentioned, there are buys that are coming up. The FCAC and the SWC. The majority of the FCAC's off this week. The entire SWC is off this week. The SCC will be off the week after. So we're going to be picking, we try to give as much representation as possible. But if there's only one FCAC game to pick, we're picking that game, whether it's an easy one, a hard one, a coin flip. We're not going to be sure. So I think this is going to get a little bit harder for some people who don't maybe pay attention as much as they should. And that should play into our favor, which is what I tell myself every year.
We shall see.
All right, Sean, you ready to dive into the first of our 10 games this week?
Yes, sir, Bob.
All right. Starting off in the CCC, we talked about this game on the Meat Grinder show. You should totally listen to that if you haven't yet. We got Maloney, who's 3-1, going on the road to Glastonbury to play the 2-2 Guardians. This game last year went to overtime. Glastonbury won, knocking Maloney from number 1. Maloney was number 1 for 6 days after they beat Southington in overtime the week before. I'm imagining Maloney's playing with a little bit of revenge. In Glastonbury, obviously, a rebuilding year for a team that made the playoffs the year ago. And they get Maloney coming in. Sean, who do you like in this one?
I like Maloney, Pete. Glastonbury, nice job against East Hartford with the defense. Tanner Thomas, had a game. Fumble recovery, pickoff, 10 tackles. And now they got to play a Maloney team that is just itching to get them back for last year's overtime loss. They just weren't ready for him. They didn't think that, they came in there. And then the key guy who was on Glastonbury last year, first team All-Stater. He is
Jack
not
Petrone.
back. Yeah, Jack Petrone. He is not back. So I'm going to go with the Spartans.
Okay. I, too, am going to go with Maloney. I just think that they're one of the best teams in the state, and I don't think there's a team in the CCC that can play with them. So anytime Maloney's got a CCTC team on the schedule, I'm picking Maloney. All right. You're going to go to the CTC.
My favorite.
The CTC?
Yeah.
We got O'Brien Tech coming in at 0-3, traveling on the road to Kidney Field to play Vinyl Tech, Goodwin Tech, Whitney Tech, who was 0-2. Now, again, like I said, a lot of representation on this podcast. So we're going to get some matchups. These are not easy matchups. Both teams have scored 6 points this season. Okay. Vinyl Tech has allowed 94 points in 2 games. O'Brien Tech has allowed 75 points in 3 games. A little bit better defense. Okay. O'Brien played a really close game. Wilcox Tech season opener. They dropped it 7-6.
That's it. And that's all. They haven't scored since.
They have not scored since. And
tough schedule though, Pete. Real tough. Port Colby, ATI.
Exactly. Like they're not playing. You look at the other side of who Vinyl played. Northwest United, Thames River. So they both really have played some pretty hard teams in the CTC. So for both teams, this is their best chance to get a win. I'm gonna go first on this one, and I'm gonna go with O'Brien Tech just because they've allowed less points in more games.
I'm gonna go with you too. I don't know. I'm just having a feeling about O'Brien Tech. I think O'Brien Tech's gonna win this one. I think 7-6 will be the final, or 8-7 or 8-6.
What about 2-0?
Well, considering there's been a ton of safeties in the state, wouldn't shock me. It's happened 2 weeks ago. But no, I'm gonna go with O'Brien Tech. I think they win.
Okay. All right, we're gonna go to the FCAC. The only FCAC matchup on the schedule this week. New Canaan 3-1 on the road to play St. Joe's, and this is a wonderful fact that Dave Stewart shared with us. St. Joe's has beaten New Canaan the last 5 times.
Is that right?
That's what Dave shared with us this morning. It was the one thing Drew Pine couldn't do at New Canaan was beat St. Joe's.
Could not. Well, he played some great St. Joe teams.
He did. He beat Darien every year, but he couldn't beat St. Joe's.
How about this? Just out of the Drew Pine, Will Levis, never first team quarterback. Isn't that wild? Mm-hmm. Never first team registered quarterback. Never. Wild. They were both great in college. Well, I mean, he won how many games did Drew Pine win at Notre Dame? Jeez. 10
games last year. It's not hard. It's not easy to do.
Should I go first here? I'm going first.
You are going first
here.
Is
that why? All right. Anyway, Pete, I think the spell is broken. St. Joseph, they want to give me hell for thinking Stanford's an easy pick. I think this is also an easy pick. New Canaan, Alex Benevento, whose name I always seem to get right. I'll get it right now. Alex Benevento's great. They got some dudes as well. They look really good against inputting Windsor away. At St. Joseph, it's going to be a tough game, no question. But I'm going to go with the Rams here. Sorry, St. Joe. I know. Just put my face on a billboard and just throw darts at it. It's okay. I have no problem with that.
Backs against the... No, I'm just kidding. I'm going with New Canaan on this one, too.
Look at this.
I've seen St. Joe's the last 2 weeks. They've won the last 2 weeks that I've seen them. But I just think that New Canaan's playing at a different speed right now than St. Joe's is. St. Joe's is playing a freshman quarterback who looks really good. Henry Jones. He makes some really good plays, but he's going to be going up against a New Canaan defense that is so well coached and well adjusted. Miles Chisholm is a name that everyone needs to know around this state. He is a monster on the line.
Absolutely.
I think that New Canaan's defense they're going to have a heck of a day, and they're only going to have to get in the end zone once or twice to win this one. All right, we're going to go to the NDL. We got the Oxford Wolverines at 4-0, going on the road to Woodland. Shout out Kyle Brennan. Woodland is 3-1, playing host to the 4-0 Wolverines. Now, if you've been paying attention to the standings if you have been paying attention to the master list of the previews on our site, you'll see that the NVL has shifted their divisions over the last 2 years. Don't look at the CIAC site. It's wrong. Okay? And the NVL has become a power ranking conference now, which I think a lot of people aren't really paying attention to. So you have the brass division and the copper division, and here are the teams in the copper division: Naugatuck, Ansonia, Holy Cross, Woodland, Seymour, Wolcott, Watertown, and Gilbert Northwestern, who made the playoffs. And then in the brass, it's Oxford, Crosby, WCA, Derby, St. Paul, Wilby, Kennedy, and now Torrington, who dropped down from last year.
Okay, this is Tier 1 and 2, basically.
Exactly. You could argue it might be SEC Tier 1 and Tier 3.
You have Class AA schools in the lower division, which is thanks.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is Oxford's 4-0 is a little bit different than Woodland's 3-1.
Yes.
I'm going to go first in this one. We saw Oxford against Seymour, and Oxford played very well in that game. Seymour was in it. Could have won that game. Maybe they stopped yelling at each other the entire game. They might have been able to put it together a little bit better. But and Oxford's very well coached, but Woodland's got the better players. They got the guys. Mason Mastro Pietro is one of the dudes. I'm going with Woodland in this one. I think Oxford's having a great season. They might make the playoffs, but they're not beating Woodland this time around.
Oxford's opponents, including Seymour, are a robust, I believe, 3-12 so far. That includes Seymour, which is 1-3. I believe Kennedy and Wilby are 0-4, and Waterbury Career Academy is 2-2. So this is going to be their first real big test of the season. Seymour was certainly got to get over the hump. I still think they're better than Seymour now. Now they got Woodland. And then they got Crosby, St. Paul, Torrington, the next 3 weeks. This would I would say, you got Ansonia sitting there and then Derby at the end. If you want to get into the playoffs, Oxford, this is where you win it. Woodland's got some guys, though. They were toe-to-toe with Holy Cross, which is a very good team. They only lost in OT. They whooped up on Gilbert last week. I have a hard time seeing Woodland losing this game. I'm going with the Hawks.
All right. We are going to go to the Pequot. We got Cromwell Portland coming in at 3-0. They are on the road. 3-0. They played on Sunday. 3-0. They're going to Rockville to play the 2-0 Rams. These are two of the better teams in the Pequot the last 4 years. I mean, state championship appearances for both, semifinal appearances for both. Two of the best coaches in the Pequot going at it. And it's very interesting because Cromwell Portland was supposed to be rebuilding. That's what everyone told us. Cromwell's here. They're competing. They're probably a playoff team. And you got Rockville on the other side. Amir Knighton's finally back. We've talked about him at length. He's back. He's playing well. Rockville's got dudes. Sean, you saw Cromwell this weekend. You impressed? You think they could beat Rockville?
I think they can beat Rockville. Will they beat Rockville, though? I can't have a hard time figuring out, get a good feel for Rockville at this moment. And again, I don't know a whole heck of a lot about Cromwell Portland. I mean, they've certainly, got some guys there. Nolan is a good receiver. They got, obviously, Mecca Yearwood, who's been a 3-year star for them. Part of a lot of great teams. They only had 3 seniors. It's a big junior class, and that was one of the things that Rendell Bennett was concerned about. What did juniors step up? And he said these guys were freshmen when they were on the championship team 2 years ago, and now they're they're ready to go. They're ready to make this their team with the help of some senior leadership. Rockville 2-0. It's gonna be tough. I'm gonna go with Cromwell Portland. Gonna be a tough game. Gonna be one of the best games of the week. But I don't know. Maybe it's a sentimental pick. I'm gonna go with Rockville. Not Rockville. Cromwell Portland. Cromwell Portland it is. Yeah. Cromwell Portland I'm going with. I think Rockville will be right in it as well. Amir Knighton, obviously, they're really good. But again, it's hard to get a good feel for them. They've only played 2 games. One of them was a good one. But hey, I don't know. I'm just going to go with Cromwell Portland. Just gut feeling in this game.
All right. Well, in the 2 games, Rockville has allowed 6 points and has scored 86 points.
Yeah. I mean, Craig and Coventry.
Correct. This is their first real test. They were beating Granby Canton before the lightning delay in week 1. That game will be finished in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Going with your boy.
I'm going with Rockville, and here's the thing: they have a lot more experience than some of the guys on Cromwell right now. So I'm going to go with Rockville for that one.
Pick.
I think that game could go either way. I think it's maybe I go to that game. I'm not sure yet.
That's a good game.
We'll see. All right, we're going to go to the SEC, which I think is the game of the week, and Coach George DeMayo agrees because he'll be doing his show from this game as well. We got the 4-0, probably number 2 team in the GameTimeCT poll, West Haven. They are on the road at Joe Bruno Stadium to play the 3-1 Green Dragons from Hamden. Now, this game last year, West Haven won this game last year and catapulted to number 1 in the poll, which they held on to for like 4 days. But there's a wrinkle to the story if you've been paying attention to high school football, if you've been listening to this show. West Haven running back Cameron Kemp was at Hamden last year. Was at Hamden during training camp. Was at Hamden a month ago. He was at Hamden a week before the season started. Now he's at West Haven, and he is having a heck of a season for the Westies. So there's an added wrinkle into that game. That said, Hamden's J.J. Gibson, quarterback, hasn't played since week 1 when they beat Trumbull. Oh, they lost to Ludlow, which is just not a good loss. This makes it easier for me. I think this game is going to be good. I think there's going to be high emotions in this game, and Hamden's going to play well. But I think at the end of the day, I think West Haven is going to win this game. And I'll tell you this, if we're getting crazy here, I think Cam Kemp has a huge game on Friday night.
Yeah, it certainly feels that way. I have a hard time thinking Hamden's going to be even in the game, maybe beyond the second half. Beyond the first half. Maybe they sheer emotion, kind of that's going to might carry them a little bit. But West Ham just so many weapons, and Cam is just the creme de la creme, little cherry on top of the sundae on this one. They're making a run at number 1. House of Horrors here for them. They lost here 2 years ago, and just a bit brutal offensive display. Lots of good defense though. This time is going to be a lot of offense and lots of it from West Haven. Maybe even lots of defensive scores from West Haven as well. Hamden just Trumbull is a warning sign. Needed to put Branford away, took away, and then losing to Ludlow, which got smoked by New Canaan. I like the Westies big.
All right, we are gonna go. We got a couple of quote unquote at-large games because we're missing 2 conferences this week, so we have 4 at-large games. We're gonna stay in the SCC. We got 0-4 Fairfield Prep going on the road to Vanacore Field to play the 3-1 Nighthawks. Renovated Vanacore Field. North Haven christened it with a 56-0 win over Notre Dame West Haven. And then Fairfield Prep coming in 0-4. First time since 2009. Things aren't going well over for the Jesuits. And again, I said this last episode, I think it was on the Meat Grinder. No one's crying for Fairfield Prep. Okay? But no. Greenwich, Hand, Darien, Cheshire, then you get North Haven. That's your first 5 games. Defending one of the 6 defending champs in North Haven. You got to play them. You haven't scored a touchdown since September 16th. Wow. Sean, you get to go first on this one. Can Prep get in the win column? Or will they?
At Vanacore Field? No. I'm going with North Haven. North Haven single wing. North Haven single wing. But Vanacore Field, they're crushing people. And maybe if you play Sheehan, it's a lot different game this time because they made a lot of mistakes in that game. Not so since. So I'm going with North Haven's got something to prove here.
So last season, I saw Fairfield Prep play North Haven, the North Haven team that won a state title, and also a Fairfield Prep team that went to the state finals in Double L. It was not really close. Prep is just bigger, faster. That day, that was obviously over a year ago. A lot of things have changed, and there's a lot of same players back on that field. Man, Tyler Smith's still there. Finbar Malloy's still there. John Morris, one of the best football players in the state, is still there.
They're talented, man.
They are talented. And I think they're going to get in the win column. They're going to beat North Haven this week. I think they're going to get their win. Hopefully, maybe for them, they win this game. Maybe they got Shelton, then Hamden, then Xavier, then Notre Dame, then West Haven. Could they win 6? Could they go 6-4 and make the playoffs? Probably not, but
no.
I think it starts here. I think they beat North Haven. They get into the win column. And then maybe the tide starts to change over
hear that,
at
Sags?
Rafferty.
You hear that, Coach Sags? You hear that, Nighthawks?
Yeah.
Pete has
Yeah, you hear that? Pete picked the private school.
Pete has abandoned the time. Giving it to Fairfield Prep in their time.
Yeah.
They need help they can get.
All right, we're gonna go back to the Pequot. We got another great Pequot matchup. We got 3-0 North Branford going on the road to play 3-0 Granby Canton. We've talked at length about this game already. If you haven't, go listen to the meat grinder, North Branford coach Anthony Salvati on the show. This is a great Pequot matchup. I mean, you got Will Attenese versus Tommy Hansen, two of the best players in the conference, going at it at Granby Canton, where they have a great food truck with great pretzels. It's going to be a beautiful Friday night up in Collinsville.
Is it? Have we seen a forecast?
It's supposed to rain Saturday. Friday's supposed to be dry. For now. I'm going to go first in this one. If you listen to the interview with Anthony, you know that a couple of years ago, I made a massive mistake in our picks in week 1 of 2019. And I said that Branford was going to win a state championship and that they were going to start their season by dominating Guilford in week 1. And then Guilford went out and beat them up. So this time around, I'm going to take North Branford. I'm going to take the Thunderbirds. And the Thunderbirds are going to go to 4-0. I really like what they're doing. I love the team, and I just think that they're having such a great season so far, and I think it continues. I think this North Branford team has a chance to do something very special.
I'm going to go with Granby Canton here, Pete, at their place. Tough spot. They got some guys, too. They got Attenese being one of them, and he's having a great season so far. I like the Bears, Pete. I'm going with them.
Okay. All right, we got 2 more.
There you go. There you go, Ant.
Tell me if you would have ever heard this sentence 10 years ago. In an SEC Tier 2 matchup, we have 3-1 Xavier going on the road to play 3-1 Branford.
Oh yeah, no. 10 years ago, no. Not with Tim Boyle on the team.
Yeah.
Graham.
So anyway, this is a great Tier 2 matchup. Xavier, Branford. I mean, Sean, you get to go first on this one. I think I know who I'm picking, but who do you got, Sean?
I'm going with Xavier. They beat a very good Sheehan team. Xavier, not quite ready for primetime. They got smoked by hand 2 weeks ago, 29-0. Sheehan was a little bit of a battle. Sheehan's very good. And I think Sheehan's going to, make some waves here. But, Branford coming off a shutout loss to Hamden, not feeling it from them. I'm going to go with Xavier.
Yeah, I'm going with Xavier, too. Branford's good team. They've made the playoffs, 3 years in a row? They
made it last year at 5-5.
But
long way to go yet.
This is still Branford versus Xavier. This is a game that should not be happening. I'm going to go with Xavier on this one. I don't think a private school should be in Tier 2. But
I don't think there should be 3 tiers in this.
Well, that's also true. But definitely not a private school playing in Tier 2. All right. Final game of the week. We got 3-0 Enfield. I'm pretty confident this might be the first time Enfield has ever been on the Pick'ems board.
We didn't do them last year against
Woodstock. We might not have. And then they're traveling to Newington to play the 1-3 Newington Nor'easters. This one's interesting. I feel like maybe some people are sleeping on Newington here a little bit. I mean, they're not. Josiah Ross isn't there. Patty Brown's not there. There's a lot of guys that aren't there, but take a look at the teams that they've played, right? They played West Hill, 1. Maloney,
1 by
Connards. 1. Yeah, West Hill 1-1. Maloney, lost. Connard, lost by a touchdown. Connard's a good program. And Manchester's 3-0. You flip to the other side, Enfield. Their Manchester game got postponed because of weather week 1. They beat East Hartford by 3 in a wildly high-scoring game. They beat West Hill by 7 and then Bristol Central by 2 scores.
Yeah, it's a pick'em game.
It really is a pick'em game, which is why it's on the Game Time CT staff pick'em.
We sure will pick them.
Sean, I'll let you go first on this one because it's the last one, and then I'll wrap it up as we end. But who do you got in this one?
Pete, man, I hate to pick against Aquavita, but it's at Enfield. They did a really nice job beating back East Hartford, in a game they needed every point. 47-44. West Hill, they won by 7. Newington needed a last-second touchdown. Maybe, and then Bristol Central is, that's an okay win. The resume is just slightly better, just enough, and playing at home, I'm going to go with the Eagles, Pete. My first time I've ever picked Enfield to win a game. Look at that. Go Eagles.
I'm gonna go with Enfield too.
Really?
A lot of the reasons you said.
On Aquavita, Team Aquavita.
I did. I am Team Aquavita. But I really like the button for Enfield that I get to put on the board. So I'm gonna pick Enfield.
Right. You like their logo, okay? That's usually that's what wins the that's what wins the NCAA tournament. I like their logos. Yeah. How'd you pick them? How'd you pick Murray State to get to the Sweet 16? Well, I like their logo.
There it is. All right. That's another week in the books for the Picks Pod. We will see you all out there this weekend.
Get your bulletin boards ready.
Yeah, you could print it out. It's full size. Don't print it in color. Takes up way too much ink. Colored ink. Print it out in black and white. Just works a little bit better. Yeah. But print it out, hang it up on your bulletin boards, and tell us that we got it wrong. For Pete Paguaga, for Sean Patrick Bowley, I'm Pete Paguaga. We'll catch you next week on the Meat Grinder and the Pick'ems Pod. Love you all.
Peace.